Hello, 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 everybody. That's what we're doing today, protein bars. It is Food for Thought Friday. There we go. So that is the introduction. It was a topic we were going to do last week, which was protein bars, and it didn't quite happen, but everyone wanted to know about it. So it's happening this week, which is going to be great. It's Friday. It's our Friday session. We're going to go through it. And I'm still on location in Knysna. How lekker is this? It's nice and bright behind me, so I'm getting a little bit of vitamin D, getting my opportunity to get outside, breathe in a little bit of sea air, which is good for the soul, get a bit of sunshine, and I thought I would stream in from outside on the balcony. Reminder, we're at Beacon House all week. We had a great workout with the NSRI guys this morning, which was epic. They even had a call out halfway through, which was action. Everything was happening. And we've had such a lekker week here at Beacon House. We did our cook on Wednesday. We had all sorts of eds and sessions. I was getting put through my paces yesterday morning as well, with Jules leading that, which was cool. And we've got a workout tomorrow morning. Go check them out, guys. Go get a weekend here. So epic. Jeff special. Go take advantage of it, and come and enjoy a little bit of R&R. Perfect place to do it. So swipe in. Let me know who's all here, how you guys are doing. For a lot of us, we might be end of first week of the challenges, which is great. Hopefully some one-on-one clients here, some Jeff lifers, and maybe a couple new faces, people who haven't tuned in for a Food for Thought Friday before. So I want to say hi to everybody. Christina, Lucky Fish, definitely. Actually, some guys here on the rocks throwing a line, getting, hopefully they're going to get lucky fishermen. But we wanted to go find some good seafood. Good place to do it. Vilma, how's it going? Sue, very lekker, yes. Sharon's jealous as well. Guys, you can come do it as well. Just go take up their special. Get together a few mates, some family, friends or something. Girls' weekend, guys, golf tour. Come make it happen. Deline, it is a great place. Pat, Governor, how's it going? Joyce, how are you? Nicola, hello. Mapule, how's it going from Pretoria? Lovely. Nancy, it truly is. Shirley, good afternoon. Lisa, how are you doing? Definitely, Lisa. Brilliant, guys. So today, talking through protein bars, because it's a question we get a fair bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about how they can be useful, what to look out on some labels, and actually just got a few sort of common options that you might find on the shelves, and thought to just run you through what we'd be looking at. I think I've got about 10 different protein bars that are ones that you might commonly see, and we can just chat through them. And then a little recipe. If you haven't seen it, we've got a DIY protein bar that I'll bring up at the end. Joe, travel safe. Thanks for tuning in. Fiona, how's it going? Michelle, good afternoon. Let's jump straight in. So I have a little slide that I'm going to bring up in a second. There it is. So obviously talking about protein bars. So let's go to there. So firstly, the what, why, and the how. All right. So protein bars, the main thing about them is that they can be quite practical foods. And they can be useful, particularly when there isn't perhaps a whole food available. There's nothing special about them in terms of being any better for you. And obviously, we always want to try and get food in as our first option. But we have to have a few things up our sleeve for when we maybe don't. We can't prep something, we've forgotten, time's got in the way, we're in the car, whatever the case is. And there are some products that help fit the bill, and protein bars can be one of them. So typically they are obviously protein and various things that might be based off whey protein, which would be dairy based. It might be soy based or pea based if it's a vegetarian or vegan version. Or it might be a combination of things. It might have some whey and some soy, or some milk proteins, or whatever. So typically there's obviously going to be a protein component to it. And then everything else that kind of makes it a bar, really. So some options that'll bind it together. There might be some fiber in there, if it's added functionally or actually just from the ingredients that are in it. Quite often there's some fat because you need to kind of tie it together and make a bar out of it. There may or may not be sugar, or it might be sweetened with an artificial sweetener instead. But those are kind of the common ingredients that you're going to see in any protein bar. Some can be lower energy, so they'll be slightly lower in fat or sugar. And they are typically lower than energy bars. So when you're looking at bars, a snack bar or an energy bar is typically going to be mainly carbohydrate or mainly fat. So if it's nuts or seeds or something like that, it's going to be quite high energy because that's those foods are packed with it. Or it's going to be cereal, oat-based, and then it's carbohydrate. So when it's an energy bar, normally the protein's going to be quite low on it, and the calories are going to be quite high. The protein bars, we might get a bit of better balance out of it, but if it does come with some fat and carbs, it can also be quite high in calories. So we've got to account for these things, and I'm going to talk you through what to maybe look for. All right. What I've said is they're a good option for snacks. Because sometimes we fall short in our prep, so we've got to have a little backup, we've got to have a safety net, and they can also be quite useful around training. So to help with your recovery, if you're not going to get in a meal and we can at least get a source of protein from a bar, it can be useful. So for that reason, if you've got a couple of them just banging around the gym bag so that after training, it's going to be a couple hours before I actually get a good meal in. At least I can help my recovery and my goals by getting a bar in. Or you're going to stick it in the cubby hole because you're in the car all day, and if it's not that, you're going to pull over at Engine and you might grab a Krispy Kreme instead. So better option than something else. All right. What to look for on the label? First thing will be the protein content. If it's advertised as a protein bar, it's got a certain amount that needs to be in there. And normally it's going to be about 10 grams or more, and that's going to give you an idea that it's a decent source of protein. So make sure that the protein amount is at least 10 grams. That's the first and most important thing. The next things that you look at will be dependent on whatever your goals are. So if you're looking at keeping calories down, so you want it purely for its protein content, it means the fat and carbs need to be as low as possible. All right. So it does become hard because making a protein bar that is high protein and low fat and carbs makes the end product difficult to bind, doesn't taste as lacquer. So you've just got to possibly choose the best of what's available. So if you've got 2 or 3 in front of you, look for the one that has the lowest fat or the lowest carbohydrate. Ideally both, which means big bang for buck, high protein, low fat and low carbs. That's going to be a good protein bar for you. That's if you're looking to keep your calories down. You want to be a bit mindful of it and use it mainly just for its protein. But if you're looking for something that's actually going to replace a meal or a snack, which means, remember, protein, fiber, fat, we want everything combined. It might mean your protein bar is going to give you a little bit of everything. And then it ticks boxes. It means you don't have to have it with a fruit, for example. It's all in there already. You're already getting some carbs or some fuel from it. So decide whether you need it purely for protein and to try to keep your calories down. So it's just kind of getting you through to the next meal. You want to be as light as possible. Maybe you're still looking at a bit of weight loss as your general goal. So you're looking at big protein amount for low fat and low carbs. That's what you'll look at on the label. If you're looking at something to purely replace a complete snack, then you've got some room for some fat or some carbs in there. And normally about 10 grams of fat or 15 grams of carbs means you've then got a complete snack, and it's going to serve its purpose, get you through to the next meal, and you should be golden. All right. So I'm going to run through some examples, and these are ones that I often see on the shelves. You guys might or might not see them, but just an idea of the types of things that we'd be looking for. So here's an example of a protein cereal bar. The name tells you what's in there, obviously. So that's the first thing that you look at. It says there's going to be some cereal in it. So there's typically going to be a carbohydrate component. And what you need to always look for is the per serving size amount. Okay, so they'll always list it as giving you per 100 grams, which is great, but not as practical as the serving amount, because the 38 grams is the size of the bar. You want to know, if I'm eating this bar, what am I getting? Right. So First thing you'll look at is the calorie amount. 118 calories is pretty low, which is quite nice. If it's below about 160, 175, it's a nice, lean, sort of light option. It's not going to be packed with too much. And you'll most probably find as we break it down, there's a little bit of balance. Protein in this bar, you're getting 12 grams, so it's above our 10-gram mark, which is nice. And we're getting 14 grams of carbs. So what's nice here is we know that we're getting, if you're on the one-on-one, one portion of protein, and you're getting one portion of carb, which if that suits your personal plan, fantastic. And the fat is super low at 1 gram. So this is a nice low-fat option, a little bit of carbohydrate, and a nice serving of protein. Okay. Quite often, something I want to mention in our protein bars is there's often going to be an artificial sweetener used. You can see here they've actually listed it as polyols. And polyols is a sugar alcohol, so it's a type of sweetener. Just having a look at the ingredients, sorbitol is listed there, so that's the polyol. 3.5 grams is a fair portion. So the thing just to be mindful of is sometimes it doesn't sit so well with your gut. Right? It's a fermentable artificial sweetener. So if you are having these things commonly, you might find some sensitivities start to creep in. So choosing a protein bar might not only be based on the nutritionals, but also the ingredients. So you might be sensitive to the artificial sweeteners in it. Just keep an eye on your tummy for things like that. Or it might be the fact that the type of protein that's in it is also something that you're sensitive to. And that's where you look out for a dairy or a whey protein that you might have a bit of a sensitivity with. Okay, so have a look at ingredients. Here you can see what's listed there. They've got protein nuggets from some soy protein, rice flour, various things, and there's a little bit of whey protein. So that's quite common and typical. Protein bars will normally combine whey and soy, and you'll see that as a theme coming up as we go, and in various flavors and whatnot. Not the shortest list of ingredients, which will be a benefit of the recipe that you'll see at the end. Okay, so that's one example. ProNutro have a high protein bar as well. I thought I'd give this as another example. Pretty similar, slightly more fat, but we're not too worried about it. It's not a high fat bar, still below sort of 10 grams. So you're getting almost 13 grams of protein and 14 grams of carbohydrates. So you're getting one portion of protein and one portion of carbohydrate. Right, it's a little bit blurry there, the ingredients. I can't actually even see what it says. The presentation looks a bit blurry, but it's also a protein blend of whey and soy. So both two good quality proteins, and then it's flavored along. So it's about that 170 calories and below. We still know that that's decent when we're trying to keep things fairly light. Okay. This one is something a little different. NPL have a protein bar, big whack of protein. So what we look at here, per 65 gram serving, so it's a double the size bar as the last couple. So we'd expect a bit more, but we've got 20 grams of protein here. We've got 20 grams of carbohydrate. So now we're thinking this is closer to being almost a meal replacement, because you're getting 2 portions of protein, you're getting almost 2 portions of carbohydrate out of it. So now it's starting to be a lot more. Great if your goals are recovery or maybe trying to get a bit more energy in. But if you're trying to keep things nice and light and lean, there's a lot more energy packed into this, so over 200 calories in the bar. Interestingly here, 14 grams of polyols. So if you've got a bit of sensitivity to sugar alcohols and artificial sweeteners, that might be a little bit of an issue. Okay. Then next option, Biogen have some quite nice plant-based protein bars. And they've got some decent nutritional value to them as well. Again, we've got over the 10 grams of, well, bang on, 10 grams of protein in a bar. But it does come with a little bit more fat. So typically a protein bar that is vegetable-based will have a little bit more fat to bind it and give a good texture and a good flavor. Or they've used some nuts or seeds to increase the protein, and that's come along with a little bit of fat as well. A nice amount of fiber in here at 6 grams in the bar, but with that fat being at 10 grams, again, it's not on the light side. if you're trying to keep it very low and lean. Okay, so more again about being a complete snack here, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrates, and a little bit of fat in this option. All right, but nice fiber content, so it should also help you keep a little bit fuller. Biogen also do a lean whey bar. So instead of being plant-based, this is dairy-based because it's whey protein, good quality protein. And we get a nice amount of protein here, almost 16 grams. So when you're looking at bang for buck and looking at cost of things, that protein number being a little bit higher, great. We may be going to get a bit more value out of it. And it still only comes with one portion of carbohydrates, essentially at 14 grams. And total fat under 5 grams. So nice. That's why it's called lean. And why they've called it low carb is most of that carbohydrate content is coming from the polyols. So that's sugar, alcohol in there. The sugar content's pretty low at 2.5 grams. So a nice option here when we're looking. I mean, this is under 150 calorie, 120 calories we're at about here. So this is a nice lean option. Good whack of protein, a little bit of carbohydrates, but most of it from that polyol content. All right, so it's a good option, nice and light and fat. Willys have a couple, and they're also vegan. They use pea protein, which is a good quality protein option from a vegetarian side. So they've got these two options. Tastes quite nice as well, the cocoa and protein, the peanut butter and cocoa option, and then the mango and coconut. So they're nice and easy as well if you want to use them, coming in slightly smaller bar, but low, sort of at about 120 calories a bar. We get a little bit less protein on this though. So because it's plant-based, we aren't able to get as high numbers. If there isn't soy and there isn't whey in the bar, you're normally going to see those protein numbers a little bit lower. And you'll get the carbohydrate number that's still about the same. So the top option, peanut butter and cocoa, you're pretty much getting one serving of plant-based protein out of it, which is cool, and you're getting one serving of fat. All right. The mango and coconut one is about the same. Carbohydrates a little bit lower, which is cool, and fats about the same. So it's just a little bit less in calories, but like for like on the whole. Good options for choosing it as a plant-based protein source. All right. I think I've got another one. Future Life, they've got a couple as well. Obviously, we've seen a fair few of them. My light's not so good on the screen here. But so per bar, we had about 700 kilojoules, so just on about 150, 160 calories, so in line with anything else. And Future Life, typically they combine a little bit of whey with soy protein as well, like the others, so good quality proteins. And we're above 10 grams. We are above 10 grams. I'm trying to find my protein amount, 12 grams. The bright light that is coming off the ocean behind me makes my screen quite hard to see. So I'm just zooming in here. Carbs, we're also getting one portion of carbohydrates. And most of that is sugar, though. So compared to the others where it was polyols, the sugar content on this is a little bit higher. But we are getting a bit more protein and a little bit of fat. They do also have a lighter option. So they're high protein light, which changes it around. Calories are a little bit lower, which is good. So if you want to get something that's a little bit leaner, lower in energy, Future Life have a high protein light option. Okay, so it just depends on your plan, kind of what you're looking for, and how that's going to tie in, because here you're only getting 8 grams of carbohydrates, so about half a portion of starch. If you're on the one-on-one and your snack doesn't have a starch in it, you'll actually get that same sort of 8 grams from vegetables or berries. So you'd almost be able to use this interchangeably where you're getting your protein portion, but you're not getting a full carbohydrate or starch portion. So you can make up for that. And the total fat is pretty low as well. So it's a nice light, lean bar to be using in that instance. Then one of the old school kind of original options, Quest protein bars are one of the sort of more popular ones from the US. 200 calories a bar, so a little bit on the higher side. If we're looking to keep it lighter, remember we're going below about 160 to 170 calories. Because there's a little bit of everything going on here. Total carbs, we've got 20 grams of protein. So like the NPL, slightly bigger option, bigger bar, more dense. So when you're looking at something that's kind of providing you a complete snack or small meal replacement, this sort of thing fits in there because you're getting over 20 grams of carbs, over 20 grams of protein, and you're getting a little bit of fat as well. So it's ticking all the boxes. A big whack of fiber in here as well. So when the fiber numbers are high and when the polyol numbers are high, you've just got to keep an eye on how you respond in terms of gut health, particularly if you're having, daily, and it might start to build up. You might be a little bit sensitive to it. So these kinds of things, when those numbers are a little bit bigger, you might just want to start with them in smaller doses. This instance, actually having half a bar would be a pretty good light snack. And you can get that away and maybe use the other half on the second day. All right. So those are my examples. And we've got a beautiful DIY protein bar recipe, obviously, which is in the app. You can go find it there. And what each serving of these provides is 1 portion of protein, half a portion of starch, and a portion of fat. So almost a nice balanced snack. You can also flavor it up, which is quite nice. So when you're doing it yourself, you can add some, so in this example, the nuts, for example, we've got macadamia, you can play around and use a slightly different nut if you wanted to. I love this. There's a little bit of a coffee hits in it. We soak the dates in the coffee, but you can play around. You can add some different seasoning. If you didn't want it to be chocolate, you could do, different flavor to the cocoa powder. You could play around with your whey protein flavor. If you wanted a vegetarian protein, you could do that as well. So I've just given you the backbones here, but essentially you've got 200 grams of a protein powder. Vanilla means you can play around with flavors. Chocolate will give you a nice chocolatey one. Or if you wanted to use a plant-based protein, you just swap that out. 100 grams of any nuts. You could use a nut butter. The nuts just give you a nice texture, so you get a little bit of crunch out of it. 100 grams of dates, and that's what's going to bind it all together. We soak the dates in the coffee, mainly for the flavor, so you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You might just want to soak them in a little bit of water so that you can get a nice pliable end product. And then the flavor, so obviously cocoa powder, but if you wanted to flavor it any other way, you can as well. And then you can make these into little balls. You can make them into bars. You can kind of play around with it. It'll be quick and easy, like the balls that I did for Meal Prep Monday a couple of weeks ago. Now we've just done a protein version of something like that, and you can play around with it from that way. And I think that is that. So gave you a couple examples, couple ideas around protein bars that are on the market. I've given you a little recipe that you can play around with and maybe make your own. A lot more economical as well, because the cost can add up. And nothing special about them apart from being practical and logistical. If they serve a purpose because it means you can have it, it either helps your recovery or it helps you keep fuller for a little bit longer and means that the meal that you have a little bit later, you're not at risk of overeating because you haven't starved yourself. Great. And I think that's the sort of practical side of it and one of the main benefits to using a protein bar. Food first is always going to be our choice, but we've got to have a safety net so that we can make better choices with the things that we are exposed to. Hopefully that's been helpful, guys. I'm going to catch up on any of the questions that came in here. Deline, how does the sodium affect the calorie intake? So sodium won't affect calorie intake at all. So sodium has no energy content. It's just the salt. So it's not going to impact anything in terms of that, which so you don't have to worry about. Sharon, the Lint Protein Bar. I must say I have not seen that one. I'll have a look out for it and let you know. I didn't know that they actually did one, which is interesting. Hopefully they do a nice dark chocolate one. Michelle's going to give the recipe a try. Give it a crack. Do it over the weekend. Set yourself up with some snacks for next week, and it'll be easy to do. Deline, can we have a protein bar as a snack from time to time on the one-on-one program as long as you are in your... Exactly. So it's all about portions and understanding them, the breakdown of kind of how it fits in. So if you're on the one-on-one, obviously our menus that we send out are typically food-based because we want to be doing that. But so we understand that there's life gets in the way. And we have to have some other options. So option 1, you can make your own. Option 2, you can choose a good brand or a good product that's out there based on what you need. So what the things we chatted about today, it's got 10 grams of protein. That's going to give you 1 portion of protein on the one-on-one. 15 grams of carbs, going to give about your 1 starch. So you can work it out. If you need to look for that on a label, that's what you sort of need, and choose the option that's best for you. If you want to keep your calories low, make sure the carbs sort of below that, below 10, fats below 5, and then you're going to have a nice light, lean version of it. Judy, protein bar, someone that's allergic to whey and soy. So then you want something that's pea-based. So those options from Willys that I showed you, both of those are pea-based protein bars. So you can use one of those. So it's a good option. Or you can make your own. So that recipe that I showed you, just use a plant-based protein. You can maybe get one that's pea, rice, hemp combination, and you get a nice variety of amino acids from it. And you can have a crack at doing your own. Sharon, you send me a pic, and I'll have a look. Karen, interesting, brilliant. Glad you're learning something. Christina, super session, love it. Claudia loves the DIY bar for a snack. Do it this weekend, guys, and then post it. It'd be lekker to see your creations that you come up with. How you might play around with the flavors or the nuts or the whatever you want to do. Sunae's here for the avocados. On my 21-day challenge, and my favorite name. The avocados, I love it. Cool. Sue, awesome. Thank you very much. Been an informative session. Lovely, guys. So hopefully it's answered some of the questions that have been coming through. There are options out there. There are lots of options, but have the tools at your fingertips by being able to read some labels. So if you know what you're looking for, hopefully that's going to help. You'll know how to kind of go through it. Look at the protein, look at the carbs, look at the fat, and then just be mindful of the fiber and the sweetener that's used in it or the sugar alcohol, just because that might impact the sensitivity and how you respond to them from just how happy your tummy is. And then see how it fits into your goals and what you need, or if you're on the one-on-one, how you can tie it in for that. Noel, just checking if we flavor with coffee. Yes, you can save your 2 cups a day. So that the 45 mils of espresso essentially that flavors 10 bars means you're not getting much out of it. You're just getting the flavor, but it's not going to impact your daily coffee intake, which is nice because then you can get the flavor without getting the full whack of coffee and caffeine from it. Pat, pleasure. Hopefully it's been helpful. Deline says, have a great weekend to everyone. And Hetty, it's a pleasure. Terry, I don't know what you can't access. Let me know. Hopefully it'll come right. If it's maybe the recipe you're talking about or the stream, not too sure, but we'll sort you out. Guys, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Go forth and use this information. Hopefully it's been helpful. Go check out Beacon House as well. Go check out the Instagram, the offer that we've got for all our Jeffers, and come spend some time here. It's magic. Got the lovely smell of sea air, which is good for the soul, and a little bit of winter vitamin D that's just baking down on my neck at the moment, and making me a happier person because of it. We've got our workout here live tomorrow morning, which is going to be loads of fun as well. And then next week, unfortunately, just back in Cape Town. Normal. I'm doing some bagels on Monday, DIY bagel, showing you essentially it's like a 2-ingredient bagel because I love bagels and they're on the menu a little bit over the next while. So how you can make your own, which is great. Next Wednesday, we've got Jules Can Cook in the kitchen. Jules is in the kitchen with me and we're using some cans because Jeff can and Jules can cook even though she complains that she can't. So join me for that. And the next Friday, we'll obviously have a food for thought session again. Have a fabulous end to your week, guys. Have a strong one, and I'll catch up with you all soon. Cheers.